Mike Mayock will join us. He called the Eagles preseason game. Called it yesterday. The NFL Network carrying the Ravens-Eagles live on Saturday and provided color for the Colts-Eagles preseason game yesterday. Mike joins us now. Mike, how are you?
Dan, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, but here's the problem I have every preseason. At what point do you say, I'm going to buy into that, whether it's good or bad? How many games, reps, throws, runs, whatever, before you go, okay, that's what you're seeing is what you're believing?
I mean, you got to be more specific. What are we talking about?
Let's say you see a running back, or let's say you see a quarterback, Nelson Aguilar.
Yep.
Okay, is it case by case, or is there something where you say, after 3 games, I basically know what I'm seeing?
I think that's a really good question, and it's a hard answer because you have to be at practice also for some of this, and you have to have the ability to see the tape. But, for instance, the kid that really flashed yesterday for the Eagles was Kenyon Barner,
Yep.
the running back who returned a punt 92 yards. And I think to the naked eye, you and I can both look at what he did on that punt return and a couple of his runs and say there's some natural quickness and explosion there. So I recognize, and I think most of the fans watching it can recognize, this kid's pretty talented. The problem for this kid is he's got DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, and Darren Sproles ahead of him.
Wow.
And therein lies kind of the conversation that's fun in the preseason. How do you fit this kid into your roster? And if you can't, where's he going to end up?
What kind of team are the Eagles going to be? Are they a run first?
Yeah, another good one, Dan, because last year they ran the ball 42% of the time, which I think Chip Kelly would rather run it more. And when you look at Chip Kelly, the misnomer is everybody thinks he's a finesse guy, but he's a power and physicality guy. And I think with DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews, they're going to run the football more, and they're going to be closer to a 50-50 mix. And if Bradford can stay healthy, then they become one of the toughest matchup teams in the league because Zach Ertz is a great, really good receiving tight end. Darren Sproles is impossible to cover. If you've got Murray in the backfield and you're running the ball successfully, and then you have to match up wide against Aguilar and Matthews, I think they'll become one of the toughest matchup teams in the league.
What about the quarterbacking situation there in Philadelphia with Bradford's injuries, Sanchez? You still have Matt Barkley, and then Tebow. Yeah, can you hear me, Mike? Uh-oh. Mike?
Always on the Tebow questions. Something happens.
Yeah. Just a coincidence, right? Just a coincidence. All right, Fritzy trying to track him back down. I thought he was going to say another good question, Dan. Hey, Mike.
There, Dan?
Yeah, bud. Yeah, Mike.
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I said the word Tebow, and then all of a sudden something happened to your phone. So I don't think that's a coincidence. All right, the Eagles depth chart there at quarterbacking. What do you make of it?
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So the Tebow thing. I respect the kid and I like the kid, both as a football player and a person. It's hard not to like Tim Tebow. But I don't get the fascination with him nationally. He's battling to be the third-team quarterback on the Eagles. Yet when he came in the game, the stadium came alive. I go on the internet and all I see is Tim Tebow, and that's all anybody wants to talk about. And then I get a call from Dan Patrick, and I know you want to talk about Tim Tebow. And what is the fascination?
Well, if you consider he's one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, he won a playoff game in Denver. Then he couldn't find a job. Then we thought he was done with it. You throw in his personal life with how he plays, and I think there's a genuine fascination with Tim Tebow. So there's no other player who comes close with all the different tentacles that he has in, different pockets of the world that he reaches. So that's why I think there's a fascination that he would make the team. What would his role be on that team? And is he any different than he was in Denver or when he was looking for an NFL job?
And that's all very well said, and I don't disagree with any of it. At the end of the day, he's still battling to be a third-team quarterback in the NFL. And I'll tell you what I think. And what I think is that Chip Kelly is an offensive guy. And whatever's a pain in the butt for the defense, he thinks is a win for the offense, right? So he's the best tempo guy in the world, the no-huddle tempo. They do motion and shifts, unbalanced formations. They run option. Everything that can make you uncomfortable on defense, they do extremely well. And now, if your third-team quarterback is a wildcat quarterback that can throw the football just well enough to keep the defense unbalanced, my gut tells me he would like that. And, as opposed to Matt Barkley, who I like Matt Barkley, and I thought he did a nice job yesterday. So the question they have, do you do another thing that makes the defense uncomfortable? And as a former defensive player, you hate having to prepare every week for all that zone option and zone read and Tim Tebow running the football. Even if he's not on the active 46 on game day, if he's on the 53, you have to prepare like he will be. So I think from that perspective, it is intriguing, Dan.
All right, but somebody's going to be the odd man out.
No doubt.
Okay, would they consider trading Sanchez if they thought Barkley could be number 2?
I think they like what Sanchez brings them, and I think Sanchez was the security blanket that allowed them to take a shot on Bradford. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you take a one-year flyer on Bradford with all the injury issues, knowing that worst-case scenario, if he gets hurt, you're going to have approximately the same quarterback play you had a year ago when your offense was number 3 in the league in points scored.
The Patriots situation with Brady taking all of the snaps or most of the snaps, what does that tell you? And as we get closer to the season opener,
I think Bill Belichick is the best coach I've ever been around at minimizing or eliminating distractions, and I think his mantra always has been, it's one day at a time and it's one snap at a time. We're going to get better one snap at a time, whether it's preseason, regular season, whether it's a game or a practice. And I think that's the mantra that he continues to preach now. And Tom Brady's our quarterback. And the closer they get to week 3, when the first team plays more, and the closer they get to that first regular season game, depending on what is happening in the courtroom, I think you'll start to see Garoppolo getting some more of the reps. But right now, it's business as usual, and that's the way Bill likes it.
He's Mike Mayock of the NFL Network joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Watching Marcus Mariota and everybody making a big deal about he didn't throw an interception in practice. And I thought, well, that's great because I've looked great in practice before when I was in high school and college. And it didn't mean a damn thing.
You're pretty good from 3 points with nobody in your face.
Absolutely.
If somebody gets in your face, it's a different shot. Right?
Absolutely. So I looked at Mariota in that story and I thought, that doesn't mean anything to me.
You there?
Yeah. No. That's how Fritzy's starting his Monday.
It's preseason. We're easing in.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
New phone lines.
Mike.
Tell me about your 3-point shot. I missed your answer.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Tebow, your phone went out. You mentioned my jumper, your phone went out. That's basically the same thing. All right, here we go. Now, tell me about, with Mariota and Winston, and they're going to struggle, but the fact that these quarterbacks now, normally your quarterback would sit, or you'd try to have them sit for a while. I mentioned Carson Palmer and Steve McNair and Aaron Rodgers. These guys come in right away to play and not necessarily running a pro style. Mariota didn't. Winston did a little bit more. How much do you expect them to struggle this year?
I was in Tampa Bay last week for a practice and really enjoyed watching because they had this they had a blitz period which is a little bit unusual. Full live, except they don't tackle and they're not going to hit the quarterback, but they're bringing every kind of pressure that Jameis Winston's probably going to see during the season. And they do it every day in training camp. And if they've got Winston at quarterback and they've got 2 rookie offensive linemen, and all of a sudden you got 11 guys blitzing the house on every snap for about a 15-minute period. And it's fascinating because it's forcing them to make decisions that they shouldn't be ready to make at this point in their careers. And because of that, we were hearing a lot of stuff about Winston's throwing interceptions in practice and Mariota isn't, when I could care less about those kind of numbers. I mean, what I saw that day in practice was the kids hanging in there. He made some mistakes, as did his offensive linemen, but we don't talk about them. But Winston's going to take a beating a little bit. His offensive, Damar Dotson, the right tackle, got hurt the other day. Who comes in and plays right tackle now? it's not just about the quarterback. It's about who can help him out, especially in the first year or two in the league. And what my hope is for both these kids is they can get a semblance of a run game. They can get protected a little bit so they just don't get fully inundated and beat up year one, because they're both going to take a little bit of a beating.
Now, you played in college, Boston College, and you played in the NFL a little bit, right?
Here we go again.
Oh, no. Damn. All right, Fritzy, just tell him thank you. What the hell is going on around here?
You there?
Hello.
Here we go again. No, just tell him thank you. I apologize. What, McLovin?
Ethan, the intern, left,
it's
and
all
things
good.
are
We'll have to see if
we're
there's
struggling.
a problem on our end. But Dan said thanks very much, and we're going to try. No, not at all. We'll try to figure out what the problem is on our end.
Yeah, Paul.
I think it's on his end. That phone
Are you
seems
sure?
like a cell phone, shaky. He's probably in a bunker studio watching tape, and it's going in and out. I don't think it's on our end.
Okay.
You there?
This thing again, huh?
Fritzy, do I
don't
need
know
to
what to-
upgrade something? Just tell me.
I have no idea. I'm very technically.
I can't start the
not
week
handy.
like that. Come on.
I don't know what that would
the
be.
week like that.
But if you want to put it on me, I'll.
No, I
accept
want
the
to
blame.
find out what happens
That's
here.
above my pay grade. We're going to need some
Then
type of
find
technical
out.
person.
This is you lock these guys in.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty rare thing, and I don't think it's been a common occurrence that someone 3 times in the course of an interview all of a sudden can't hear you. That's what's bizarre to me.
Have you talked to the boys in the back about this?
We have. There's been all kinds of studies done on the hotline. and-
Studies?
yeah.
There have been studies?
We have an expert in the back that's been working all kinds of things with the
Damn it.
phones. I don't. That's why it's very strange why that's happening.
You there? Hello? Oh, I couldn't hear you, Fritzy. I'm sorry.
And then every time I picked up, he heard me fine for some reason. But when we put it through to you, it's not working.
Then it sounds like it's something on our end. Right?
Very strange.
What, Paul?
So that means it's Seaton's fault in some fashion. By that shift of blame there.
That's not a shift of blame. So every time I picked it up, he's hearing me fine. Then we put him back on hold, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the interview, 3 different times he's not hearing you. It's
You
not
there?
anyone's fault.
You hear me?
Having it again.